Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Let me know what the mic levels are like, by the way, because it feels like it's amped up for some reason today, even though I've not touched the volume level whatsoever. But while I wait for a response on that, welcome to the Snowflake's Corner, episode 59, where we cover news from outside the UK. We've got 6 different stories to cover here. The date and time of this is the 4th of March 2025 at 6 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on twitch.tv/Reganelite1. If you are on Twitch, feel free to say hello, hit the follow button and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I go live on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, make sure if you want to help support me, hitting that like button, sharing across social media, subscribe if you want to see more content on that platform as well. Stephen Banker is here. Good evening, Regan Lee and good folks. Good to see you, Stephen Banker. Hope you're doing well, and anybody else who may be lurking in the chat as well. So we will come to a bit more on Vance, Trump, and the a bit about the EU a bit later on, because I know that's obviously a very important. It's obviously very, very important to talk about. Because it's a subject that's not going to go away, but I may or may not do a live stream. It depends. Yeah, we'll see how things go, guys. So the first story I want to cover, as I said yesterday, because it is something I want to talk about, is what's happening in the Middle East right now. Because while we really are fixated on everything that is going on right now with Trump, with Ukraine, and what could happen, or whether there's going to be a peace deal, or what's going to happen here. Now you say they're here. What else is also happening is that is a potential blow up in the Middle East as well. So this one is from the New York Times. As Gaza crisis deepens, the Arab leaders are to meet to form a pact. So trying to counter President Trump's proposal to clean out Gaza, Arab leaders plan to meet in Cairo today to discuss their own versions for Palestinian territories, but they face an uphill battle. Now, as of right now, I have been monitoring this very carefully to see if there's been any changes. Now, I said last weekend that perhaps I was expecting this to blow up. I was expecting the ceasefire to break, and I was expecting Israel to go rolling in with guns and tanks and everything. I was expecting them to do that. It appears they have not. It appears they have not done that, which is a good sign. So far, we're still holding, but for how long, I don't know. It just feels like to me now it's a ticking time bomb of a case of matter of when, not if, when it comes to this ceasefire being broken down now at this point. So I do know most of this anyway, because I covered a similar article to this earlier today on Rumble, which is dropping literally right now as we speak on the Rumble channel, which you can check out later. But basically, one of the proposals from the Arab leaders is essentially, obviously Trump's idea was obviously trying to push and move all Palestinians out of the territory, which I'm sure you guys will agree with me is a stupid, dumb idea, and that they would not leave their homeland in any way, shape or form was what they were proposing. Madbunk33, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you as always. So that was one of the suggestions that they were going to be making, is obviously trying to push people out territory, which Benjamin Netanyahu would have been delighted of, but obviously the Palestinians rejected it, the Arab leaders rejected it, the Western allies rejected it, pretty much most people pretty much rejected it. Don't know what Russia's position is, but quite frankly I don't care about their position. So one of the proposals, and this was by Egypt, was to essentially form a sort of caravan movement. So essentially like mobile caravans for the Palestinian people to live in, to move from one place to another as they rebuild Gaza. This is what one of the proposals that they have made. They're going to be making to President Trump in a deal to perhaps when it comes to actually rebuilding Gaza as a way of doing that. One of the other suggestions they've said is allowing the Palestinian authorities to assume control of Gaza, independent of Israel, to allow them to take control and slowly be dismantling of Hamas. Now, Israel have already rejected this idea, and I actually am going to go, and I'm actually going to do something a bit odd here, and I'm going to agree with them. I don't think the Palestinian authorities should control the state, the situation in Gaza. I don't think that's the right thing to do, considering the tensions. My personal opinion is that if we're not going to put UN peacekeepers in this situation, then we should may have some kind of form of UN-style peacekeepers of Arab nations, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Syria, Whether we can, I don't know about some of the other countries that are in conflict right now, like Iraq and or maybe even Afghanistan. Maybe that's pushing it a little bit too far. But something like that, of some kind of peacekeeping force, a neutral force, that's not tied to Israel, that's not tied to Hamas, that would be essentially in control of the state of Palestine, of the state of Palestine, until there is a bit of security and peace. Obviously, Israel will not want this. Israel will not want anything, because they want the whole strip for themselves. They want basically the whole 2 million, I think it's 2 million Palestinians still left in the Gaza Strip. They want them all gone. They want them all wiped out. They want them all moved. That's what they want. So, is this plan going to work in front of President Trump? I'm absolutely honest, I don't think it's going to work at all, because President Trump and his family are very close to Netanyahu. They actually go back quite a bit of history as well. So there are connections there between Netanyahu and Trump's people. So it's not just a case of America and Israel as allies. No, there's actually a deeper connection here. So the chances of them actually appealing to President Trump is very unlikely, unless they offer something that involves money. If they offer something to Trump, like, I don't know, offer them a piece of strip or land or something on the Gaza Strip, or something like that, may tempt him perhaps maybe to some of these concessions. But I generally don't think, that it should be the Palestinian authorities who should have control. I really do think it should be a neutral force that should be controlling Palestine, controlling Gaza until the state can be there can be some security, because Israelis want guaranteed security. And they just don't. They want the guaranteed security. The government, we know that this Israeli government is going to fall apart if the Arab leaders have it their way. The Israeli government will fall apart. Netanyahu will fall apart, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up fleeing to America and gets sanctuary there. That's what I think could happen there. I don't think this is likely, simply because Donald Trump won't allow it. I don't think Donald Trump will allow it. But let's read a bit more into this, guys. But that's the current situation right now. And everything's just really, really tense right now. So when leaders of every Arab country meet for an emergency summit in Cairo today, face pressure to come up with something that has proven elusive for decades, a comprehensive Arab version for Gaza. Just as Israel-Hamas ceasefire is tearing, and Israel, buoyant by President Trump's backing, holds the upper hand. The Arab Summit Rescue Mission, the real stark headline in Saturday's in Arab Abraham, I'm going to mispronounce words, so I apologise in advance. Egypt's state-owned flagship newspaper, over an article outlining the uphill task facing Arab leaders. The summit was originally called in response to Mr. Trump's proposal last month to expel Palestinians from Gaza, send them to Egypt and Jordan, and turn the territory into a tourism hub. An idea much of the world has rejected as ethnic cleansing. Yeah, because once they're gone out, like, they're not going to be allowed back in. Like, Trump initially said that we will allow them back in. And then he said, no, they'll be happier where they are instead of going to Gaza. And it's just like, what? So, Egypt, Jordan, and Arab allies have pushed back on the plan, saying it would destroy any hope of a Palestinian state, threatening national security and destabilizing the entire region. This is a really important point here I want to point out as well, which I covered on the Rumble video as well, which I do recommend checking out. So, this is what will happen. If Trump has his way and pushes the 2 million Palestinians out, this is what will happen, right? And this is context you really need to. This is the context you need to understand. It's not just a case of Israel takes that land. It's what happens to those 2 million Palestinian people that get pushed out of their home, right? They will likely, obviously, settle in Jordan or Egypt because they're the two partners. It won't be Lebanon because Lebanon's problematic, but it will be likely those two countries. Now, Jordan has already taken a significant amount of Palestinian refugees already. If they were to take half, like 1 million extra more Palestinians, let's just say hypothetically, from Gaza, it would eclipse their own population. So there would be more Palestinians in Jordan than Jordanians in their country. And what that would lead to is a potential uprising within the country to go after Israel because of what Israel have done in the past. And it will cause destabilization to Jordan, basically. And this is something that the King of Jordan does not want. He does not want any more Palestinians because they've already taken in a significant amount. So that's the first thing. You can say the same thing about Egypt as well. Now remember, because obviously they're on the border of the Gaza Strip as well. That's really that context is there as well. So those Palestinians that will move out into that Sahara, that other part of Egypt, there, they will settle in those areas. They will, if they move there, they will just form up and then build a resilience and go after Israel, because they're not going to let this go. They're not going to let the fact that their lands have been taken from them and expect them to just go quietly in life. So it will cause a massive headache for Egypt, who are already having a massive headache because they've been taking in refugees from Sudan, from the conflict that's taking place there, as well as things not going very well in, I believe it's Libya right now, that's next door to them. So they've got enough problems as it is, and this is already a headache for them. So this is why, so just on them alone, never mind just the fact that pushing them out, just so Israel can have the territory which they shouldn't be entitled to in any way, shape or form anyway. But you're just literally kicking the can of this problem down the road. You're ceding more territory to Israel, and then you're causing chaos in 2 more countries because you're pushing those people into those countries. And you're taking, basically, Palestinians will no longer have their own homeland. It's insane. Israel and the USA don't want Palestinian state. They just want the land for its black gold and the oil off the coast as well. Madbunk 33. Trump is going to stick by Netanyahu no matter what. That's one thing he'll definitely do. Mr. Trump appeared to soften his position recently, saying in an interview that he was not forcing it. But the Arab world remains deeply concerned about Gaza, especially now that the ceasefire has paused the bloodshed there for 6 weeks and seen Israel and Hamas exchange Palestinian prisoners for Israeli hostages is in doubt. Let's also point out that food, aid and supplies have all been cut off to the Gaza Strip as well since last week as well, which is obviously Israel have tried to force some kind of concession of a ceasefire agreement with Hamas to come to the table to basically hand over more than 50% of their prisoners in exchange for extending the ceasefire, which Hamas have basically refused because they're not offering any more Palestinian prisoners in return. And there's no real talks of the second phase of the ceasefire agreement, which was originally put down as well. So right now, as far as I'm aware, there's no prisoners exchanges anymore at the moment. And for everything that Hamas have done, I do not blame them one bit for not exchanging any more prisoners, because they will lose their bargaining power for everything that they have done. Once all those prisoners are gone, Israel will not care. They will just go back in again. But even with or without the prisoners, they can still attack whenever they want to. In this latest crisis to shake the agreement, Israel began blocking all aid and goods into entering Gaza on Sunday, attempting to strong-arm Hamas into delaying a permanent end to the war. Israel also recently drove tens of thousands of Palestinians from their homes in the West Bank and ruled out allowing them to return, intensifying Arab fears that Israel is emboldened by Mr. Trump's support, the will attempt to annex the West Bank. Yeah, this is another problem as well, what's happening in the West Bank. Literally got another story with that, and I drop in on Rumble. And again, I've said it enough times about what's happening in the West Bank on Rumble. No one's doing anything about it. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has haunted the Middle East for decades, but recent events have brought the question how to resolve it to a head, forcing Arab countries to scramble over the last few weeks to respond to Israel's actions and come up with a counter-proposal to Mr. Trump's. Beyond insisting on Palestinian statehood and rejecting forcible displacement, Arab countries have not yet agreed on an alternative version for Gaza, let alone one that Palestinian political factions, Israel, the United States and other countries would sign on to. The leaders of Egypt, Jordan and the Gulf Arab states met last month in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia to strategize ahead of Tuesday's summit in Cairo, which will include all 22 members of the Arab League, as well as the United Nations Secretary-General and the European Council's President. At the summit, where representatives aim to hammer out formal proposals, the discussion will likely centre on Egypt's plan, which would involve rebuilding Gaza without moving Palestinians out of the strip and putting technocrats and community leaders unaffiliated with Hamas in charge of the territory after the fighting ends, according to diplomats and officials briefed on the proposals. Under this framework, oil-rich Gulf states would likely pay for Gaza's reconstruction, though Egyptian officials have also suggested Europe could also contribute funds. Well, I think Europe's a bit priorities right now. Its funds are prioritising arming itself, to be fair. Gulf states would likely pay for Gaza's reconstruction. Is that going to come back in loans? I'm assuming. That's a good. Is that just basically just going to pay to rebuild Gaza, or is it going to come in the form of a loan? Like, I'm generally curious on that one. I wonder if they could get a US. I don't know if they're going to push to try and get like a US guarantee of some sorts as well. The Egyptian plan is ready to be presented to other Arab countries. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr said during a news conference with senior European Union officials in Cairo on Sunday, according to Al Qaeda News, a government-linked broadcaster. He called the second phase of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, which is supposed to lead to a permanent end to the war, to start immediately. On Saturday, Mr. Abdel said in a news conference with the Palestinian Prime Minister and Foreign Minister that Egypt had volunteered to train Palestinian police forces to be deployed in Gaza while the territory is rebuilt. But there is little agreement over the central questions such as how to govern Gaza, how to manage its security, how to rebuild it, and what role Hamas would play, if any. Well, realistically, you would want Hamas not to be in that role at all. But given the situation, how intense it is, I don't blame them. Hi, Mark Welke. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else as well lurking in the chats. And any plan would have to get around a more fundamental issue, while Arab leaders will support only a framework that would include at least a normalised path towards Palestinian statehood. Israeli leaders are against paving the way for Palestinian sovereignty. Arab leaders also want the approval of the Palestinian authorities, an international recognised body that runs the West Bank and also administrates Gaza, until Hamas seized control of the Strip in 2007. The two territories should be united as one state, Arab officials argue, must be linked to any conversations about Gaza. But the authorities' president, Mahmoud Abbas, has appeared reluctant to give his blessing to any government arrangement, including the technocrats committee Egypt has proposed, that does not put him fully in control of Gaza. Hamas officials said to be willing to hand over control of civil affairs to such a committee, but they refused to demilitarize in Gaza, a crucial demand of both Israel and Mr. Trump, whose Middle Eastern envoy Steve Witkoff said in an interview with CBS Face the Nation last month that Hamas has to go. I don't know. I just don't see how you can force Hamas to go in this current situation, because Hamas's goal is the complete and total destruction of Israel. So, like, how do you change that position? And considering what they did on October the 7th, like, they're still, what they did was still absolutely disgusting and vile. That context really matters as well. Liebskin, good to see you there, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Just woke up a bit disorientated. What day it is? Today's Tuesday. It is Tuesday, 6:18 p.m. at the time of this recording, UK time. Here. But yeah, like, yeah, I like I said, I agree that it should not be the Palestinian authorities that should have control of this. I do think it should be a third body. But what that third body should be, I'm not sure. Like, perhaps maybe a combination of maybe a combination of different Arab, a combination of different people from different Arab nations working together to form a government, perhaps, temporarily. Like, maybe, like, one or two representatives from Saudi Arabia, one or two representatives from Egypt, one or two representatives from Jordan, one or two representatives from Qatar and some of the other Gulf states, and have them all, like, who are experts in different areas, and have them form an independent government, a temporary independent government, until Gaza is rebuilt, until and then some kind of UN or some kind of UN Arab peacekeeping force within Gaza that keeps the state safe from Israel and from itself, from Hamas. You would slowly reduce, hopefully, the demilitarizing of Hamas is the long-term goal here, is what you would want. And hopefully, and eventually, it would lead to perhaps reconstruction of Gaza, and then perhaps they could have elections and elect a official government to run the country. This would be like a 10, 20, 30-year plan, 50 years plan, like over 50 years, something like that, because obviously it's going to take decades to undo the damage that Israel have done on the Gaza Strip. That's the kind of my thinking there. It's a big ask, and I know it's only unlikely, but I think that may be what the best situation is there. But as of right now, there is still, it is not going all guns blazing at this moment in time. But like I said, it can change at literally any time. Like, literally, Hamas and Israel can go to war at literally any moment. Like, that's how tense things are right now. Because it looked like it was going to kick off at the weekend, and for some reason it hasn't happened yet. So, and when it does kick off, you know what Trump will do? He'll blame Biden. He'll blame the deal that Biden had proposed. That's what he will do. That's what's going to happen. So the next story I've got for you guys is another example of climate change. Now, some people will argue, oh, but this is perfectly normal in the country. Well, you can argue all you want about, oh, this is perfectly normal. No, it's actually getting, these areas and these situations are getting worse. So there's a similar, a short story that's going to be dropping a while ago, either today or tomorrow, about the wildfires that are taking place in Japan. And they're pretty brutal. It's one of the worst wildfires in Japan that they've had in decades. I think it's like even 20, 30 years. It's the last time they've ever had a wildfire as fierce as they have ever had in their country. And then you have here hundreds evacuated as torrential rain floods the Indonesia capital. It is like this is their capital. This is their homeland. And you can see just how flooded it is just by looking from above from this picture. Now to us, yeah, some of us may not see this as, oh, well, this is because it's on the other side of the world, it doesn't affect us. Just because it's happening on the other side of the world doesn't mean it won't affect us one day. And we should be ensuring that countries like Indonesia and others who suffer from these terrible situations, given the best possible support that they can to deal with these situations, to be given the tools that they need to be able to protect themselves from these climate changes. But as long as we are making the planet warmer, these kind of phenomenons are only going to get worse and worse and worse. And it's the poorest countries that are actually getting more affected because of where they're geographically stationed positioned on the planet as well. And Indonesia, just like lots of other countries, are suffering as a result. So hundreds were evacuated from dozens of flooded neighbourhoods around Jakarta on Thursday as torrential rain paused the Indonesian capital and its surrounding satellite cities, causing severe rivers to overflow. There were no immediate reports of casualties after the latest deluge, but parts of the city, home to around 11 million people, grounded to a halt as the whole neighbourhood was swamped with muddy water. The heavy rain began on Monday yesterday, causing some flooding in Jakarta and nearby the cities of Bogor, Beski and Tangerang. Water has seen meters area as high as east and south South Jakarta on Tuesday after the rain caused the Ciliwung River to overflow, affecting 1,446 people from the 224 houses in one village alone, the National Disaster Mitigation Agency has said. That's the BNPG. And that's what they are dealing with. This photo was actually today. They posted this. This is today they uploaded that photo. So they must have posted it this morning our time. In Bogor, more than 300 people were evacuated, dozens of houses were damaged and one bridge collapsed. In Tangerang, 350 houses were flooded after the Namasar River overflowed. Residents took to the rooftops to use ropes to pull themselves to safety through the floodwater in one South Jakarta district, according to an AFP journalist at the scene. Rescue teams obviously on the work, and that was also this morning there, them trying to help as many people as they can. Authorities said they were disturbed, ready to eat food, blankets, tarpaulins, and those affected by the floods, and deploying rubber boats to evacuate residents. If there's a shortage, the public can ask for more. We are ready for help, the BNPP deputy for the emergency response said in a statement. The low-lying city is prone to flooding during the wet season, which runs from around November to March. So November to March, so it's already in the late season. In 2020, torrential rain flooded and landslides that killed nearly 70 people in and around Jakarta. That was back in 2020, while thousands more were forced to evacuate the shelters. And this is unfortunate. Like, I know it's normal. It's to people on the outside. It's like, oh, but that's perfectly normal. Well, just like every other country, like, there needs to be safeguards to ensure that these things don't happen. It's like the same thing with when we talk about the flood defences in England, in England or Wales, in parts of the country. Like, for me, we should not have this situation of why are we not spending the money to ensure that we have the defences that we need to ensure that they never happen. And this is the same question I have for Indonesia. Now, yes, granted, you can argue that Indonesia may not have the GDP per capita or its value as much as the UK. Yes, you can make those concessions and arguments too. But question you have to ask yourself, if it's consistently happening, what is the government doing to avoid this? What steps are the government taking? And I welcome the rescue workers and the people who are doing to make sure that those are get to safety. But is more being done? Have this government and previous governments been doing enough when it comes to tackling it? Is it just solely on climate change? Can we put all the finger on climate change? I do think, yes, of course, climate change does play the factor in it. But is it all on climate change? Because I said at the start, yeah, that this is something that affects climate change, but is it something that affects all of it? And I think that's a question worth asking there. Joe, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well there. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on that one. Right. Now, before I go to the next article, I'm going to warn you now. The next article, just the headline alone, is extremely distressing. So obviously, I'm not going to lie to you guys. The headline is going to be quite distressing. So, Stephen Baker, I know you get uncomfortable with certain headlines. I would advise you not to see this one, because this one's going to make you cringe. But I'm warning you that this topic is going to make, as you may find, distressing. Okay, so I'll give you guys a couple of minutes there before I cover this one. Hopefully I won't be too long, Stephen Banko. I'd say if you want to wait, come back in about 10 minutes if you want to do that. That's perfectly all right. But I'm just giving you the warning now. Okay, anybody else who might be watching, okay? So this next story I've got for you is from Sudan. It is from Africa News. Sorry, apologies. So there's been distressing reports of child rape caused by UNICEF here. So the United Nations has reported that sexual violence against children is being employed as a common strategy in the ongoing conflict in Sudan. The recent report highlights that millions of children are in jeopardy and due to the alarming trend. In a shocking report, the UN Children Agency has revealed that children as young as 1 year old have been victim of rape across 9 states in Sudan. As of early 2024, the agency reported that 221 children, including boys, have suffered this horrific fate at the hands of armed men. These alarming statistics were gathered from gender-based violence service providers operating in the region, highlighting the severe impact of ongoing violence on the youngest and most vulnerable members of society. This conflict in Sudan erupted in April 2023, pitting the military against the paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces. This brutal struggle has resulted in the deaths of at least 220,000 individuals, with estimates suggesting that the acute toll may be even higher. The war has dispatched over 14 million people, leading to widespread famine in various areas of the country. Human rights organisations have reported numerous atrocities, including sexual violence and forced marriages of children, perpetrated by both factions involved in the conflict. UNICEF's recent findings indicate that approximately 61,800 children have been internally displaced since the onset of the war. The agency has documented numerous cases of children being raped during assaults on urban areas. Notably, more than 30% of the victims were boys, with the group including 16 children under 5 years old and 4 infants. The report incidents occurs in several states, in all these and among others. Of the 221 cases, 73 were linked to the conflict, while 71 were unrelated, with the remaining cases still under investigation, as shared by Tess Ingram from UNICEF. So yeah, what's really distressing about this is not just the rape on children, but how young they are. And I honestly just don't know. I find it very hard to put into words how it makes me feel. I saw this story and I actually really didn't want to share it with you guys, because that's how uncomfortable it is. But we've talked about how bad things are in Sudan. since the conflict started. I've tried to cover it as much as I can, and we knew from articles and from things that we have discussed about that we knew that there was people being taken advantage of. We knew that there were reports of some genocidal acts being taken place in Sudan. We knew that there were stories of women being raped, according to reports. But this is the first time I've heard the stories about child rape cases. And they're claiming it's on both sides as well. It's not one side, it's both sides. And for children as young as they said in this report is deeply, deeply distressing. And obviously we've never set foot in the country, so it's for me to try to quantify why people think or feel in any way, shape or form to do what they do. I cannot understand it. I cannot imagine what those kids are feeling right now. But I think it was. I really wanted to put that story. I felt it was right to call it out, and it once again reinforces how angry I feel about Sudan. Not angry. My anger is at the two generals who are responsible for this, who are responsible because instead of having a democratic, some form of democracy of some sorts of government, of civilian government, these two fuckers got greedy. And I know it's more complicated than that, guys, but we've talked about what's happened and everything that has transpired since then. It boils my blood that we do not talk enough about Sudan, that the mainstream media does not talk enough about how severe this is. And the only reason they don't is because it's an African country. That because of what's happening in the Middle East, because of what's happening in Ukraine, that this is something that is not reported and talked about. But it really does hurt me to talk about it. Now, I'm not a father, but if you do have children, obviously, I hope it doesn't affect you listening to it, what I've just read. But I hope, in a way, that it makes you understand that just how lucky some of us are in the situation that we are, because there are people in the world who do not have the things that we have. And I think I might even dive a bit deeper into this on tomorrow's mental health live stream, guys, because I am doing a mental health one tomorrow evening. So to talk about these things, because it has, reading this report before really did make me uncomfortable. But man's inhumanity to man knows no bounds. Yeah, it is. Rwanda all over again, but not tribal, but religious, says Mr. E. Yeah. Do you know what? This is like it's like that, Mr. E. It's good to see you there, and Mithril, and anybody else who's popped in. But it's not like something that should be like called out, saying like, why is no one doing anything about this? Why is this being allowed to happen? How is no one how is anyone allowing this to sit by and let happen? Like, how is the world allowing this to happen? That's the mindset that comes to me. Like, yes, it's far away from us, but it's still happening. It's bad enough when we talk about the bloodshed of conflicts and wars. But we're talking about children here, guys. Children. And I was going to go to a funny video, but given the context of this, when I'm gonna go to the next video before I go to a funny video, because I just don't think it's appropriate after that story, guys. Yeah, we're gonna switch. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit from my plans. So yeah, let's switch gears. the last three stories I have for you guys is surrounding America and the EU. So we're going to, before I go to the funny video, we're going to go to an article from France 24. I don't know how many of you are aware of the comments that the Vice President of the United States has made recently, in which he allegedly claimed that he criticized French and British armies. But this is come out today from France 24 here. Vance denies criticizing British French armies. The US Vice President J.D. Vance insisted today that he was not targeting France and British with remarks he made dismissing the military's ability of countries supporting a possible European peacekeeping force in Ukraine. So I do recommend it. I don't have the video here, but I do recommend, obviously, if you haven't seen the comments, like Rob Spear's done a video on this. I'm sure others will do videos on it as well. But the comments by J.D. Vance criticizing Europe and some criticizing the military and whatnot. Now, he didn't specifically say French or British, but the interpretation that we have is that's what he said. And this guy he's a bastard. You know, he's somebody I'm going to be shouting and screaming about for a couple of years to come. I think he's more of a threat than Donald Trump is, actually, considering how he's been conducting himself recently. Now, he says he's not criticised British French armies, but we can interpret it very differently here, guys. QA Library, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So, European nations are looking at ways to support the eventual peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, with Britain and France saying that they would be willing to deploy ground troops. So Vance responded on Monday in the Fox News interview by mocking the prospect of sending 20,000 troops to some random country that has not fought a war in 30 or 40 years. This is absolute folly. Here, this is the thing. Now, even though he didn't say, and you can see it down at the bottom, he didn't say UK or France, but to insult us, insult French, insult British troops who came and stood side by side with the US when it had its war with Afghanistan, with its war in Iraq, where we fought whether it was in the skies or on the ground, because British troops did. To say that British troops don't have experience shows just how belittling he is. We may not have a big British force in the UK, but we have one of the hardest British forces out there. The training that you have to go through to be like a special British forces member is absolutely insane. Just even the basic stuff. I know a colleague of mine who's worked in the reservists, and it was brutal. It was brutal. Just that. It really is a tough nut to crack. Toys don't get tasered. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Vance is not worth my time. He's just a pathetic fool and a tool. I do think he's a mouthpiece for himself here. That's for sure. After his remarks drew an angry response from politicians in London and Paris, Vance posted on X that the pushback against his comments were absurdly dishonest. I don't even mention the UK or France in the clip, both of whom have fought bravely alongside the US over the last 20 years and beyond, Vance said. But he went on to question the underlying idea of the Anglo-French coalition of the willing to police any ceasefire in Ukraine. Well, what's your suggestion? Oh, we don't have any peace troops in there at all. Is that his suggestion? That's an insane idea to suggest. There are many countries who are volunteered privately or publicly support. They have neither the battlefield experience nor the military equipment to do anything meaningful, he said. Here's the thing, right? Like, if you're not going to be supporting Ukraine anyway, who cares? Who cares who cares? Why do you care? This is my opinion. If you don't want to be a part of this, like if you don't want to guarantee Europe's safety, Ukraine's safety, then why do you care? Why even comment on it? You might as well just, when asked those questions, and just say, you know what, we don't care. We're just gonna move on. Like, why not just say that? You know. Vance later appeared to row further back on his comments when speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill. So I think here. So he's already gone back. And apparently he looks like he's going buying back. This is what he said. So obviously, we appreciate this. The British and the French have offered to step up in a big way, and that's very, very important, Vance said. When asked about whether European keykeepers could realistically be part of the solution. So again, he's already, he's pushing back. He's going back even further on this. Because he realised, clearly he's upset. He's rattling some people. He's rattled some people. And I think Republicans have said, don't damage the relationship with Britain. I think is what they're trying to say with Britain and France. I think is what he's trying to say there. SAS always kick the much vaunted US Special Forces into the ditch. Yes, the SAS are the absolute best of the best. Absolutely, they are. I've never met an SAS soldier. It would be a huge honour just to meet one. British and French troops both served alongside US soldiers in Afghanistan after the 9/11 attack on the United States. British soldiers also joined the US-led invasion of Iraq in 2003. And by the way, that's not me being patriotism about the soldiers. Like, this is just how, like, to be one of those soldiers, SAS, you know, it's one of the highest, one of the most, the training is beyond, is just insane for any average man or woman to take. Like, you really, the dedication it takes to be one of those soldiers is incredible. That's not patriotism. That's just, like, for me, how much I appreciate what they have to go through to be an SAS soldier, that those who are committed to do it. You know, it's me, it's the appreciation of the end of the work that they do to be one of them. Vance has positioned himself as President Trump's foreign policy attack-dog in recent days, particularly when it comes to Europe. Yep, we all aware of that. He moaned at European leaders at the Munich Civic Conference. We know about that. Vance when then confronted, before doubling down the very next day. Yeah, he made stupid comments there as well about free speech. Last Friday, Vice President, he tried to be a tough guy against Volodymyr Zelensky, and we found out he was a pussy. Oh, by the way, did you hear about what his holiday trip in... his holiday trip he tried to take in... He went skiing. I can't remember where it was, but... he had a lot of protesters, so protesters were there. So they kind of had to make amendments to where he was originally staying. Yeah, I don't think he's very well liked in America, you know. After Trump suspended US support for Kiev against Russia, Zelensky said on Tuesday that the row was regrettable and he wanted to make things right with the United States. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Trump, who has been accused of sidelining both Kiev and European allies as he moved to negotiate directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin, has so far refused to involve the United States in the peacekeeping operation suggested by France and the United Kingdom. Yeah, Vance should, sometimes, as somebody who, he's not been in politics that long, and he's got an incredible amount of power, from he's sucking up to Trump, and it's given him an incredible power in doing so. And he has shown in front of the cameras, in front of the media, if you can be nasty enough, you could really go somewhere. And the other thing is, you know what? There's what's the name of Hitler's right hand man? What was that guy's name? The real ruthless person in the Nazi Germany. Give me his name, because someone in the chat remind me what his name was, because he was considered more nasty than Adolf Hitler during the World Wars. He was a nasty person. And we talk about Donald Trump being bad. And part of me feels like that J.D. Vance is that comparison in a sort of way, because Himmler, that's it. Thank you, Joe. Himmler, yeah. He was nasty. Himmler was nasty. Now, I'm not saying J.D. Vance is Himmler, but he's giving off Himmler vibes. The way he's acting, since the ways they've been acting recently. I'm getting those vibes, guys, and it's that's not a good thing in any way, shape, or form, guys. Really, really is not. The Reich's attack dogs, yeah. He should use less eyeliner, does not suit him. There's a lot of things he should not do. I wonder if he's got 3 6s on his head. I used to work as an ex-squaddy. He said that the difference between US and UK forces is that UK forces were taught to use their initiative, whereas US forces just follow orders, said Mithril. That's Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, US forces are just told to follow orders and not argue. Allowing your UK soldiers to kind of use their brain a little bit more, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. A man married with a brown woman, if a so-called Christian, should shut up and be a man. If you lay with a woman and have children with her, they are your responsibility. He's endangering that, Jal says. Oh yes, in America, I'm sure you're referring to there. USA QA Library says the USA spend 3.4% of GDP on defense, but it's not just military. That money, Veterans Affairs, GI Bill, so free trading up to universal level, and medical care, and are included in the figure. Yeah, there was something they're looking to cut veteran care bill, which upset a lot of angry Republicans at some of the town hall meetings. I don't know how many of you guys have been aware. Some of the town hall meetings Republicans have been taking place. They've not been very, very good for them. Just another piece of history repeating itself, says Stephen Banker. Indeed. Right, let's go to the funny video, guys, because we didn't do it. So just make. Why are they both the same? They shouldn't both be the same. Right. Anyways, let's have a little quick funny video here. It's only a short one here, from a man from Ireland. Can you guess who he is, guys? I'm sure you know who he is. Apparently, Ireland is preparing for war. This is going to be good. Garen, take it away, our friend. Do check out his work, Garen Music, on YouTube.
Ireland is about to become a military superpower. You're all fucked. We're about to get our very own fighter jets. We never had them before. Very exciting. We're getting 6 of these fuckers. That doesn't sound like a lot. That doesn't sound like enough. If we get invaded, we're probably still fucked, which is typical. This always happens to us. Ireland is supposed to be a neutral country, a country of peace. That being said, I have compiled a list of the first countries I think we should invade. Number 1, the Norwegians. They get away with too fucking much. First of all, the Vikings. We haven't forgotten about that. And stop coming over and catching all our fucking fish. Number 2, Iceland. I've just always felt it was begging to be colonised by the Irish. We'd only have to change one letter. We're also getting 300 cyber security troops. I don't know what we're going to do with them. Maybe try and catfish Justin Trudeau or something like that. The Irish are going to be a force to be reckoned with. We will rain hell on our enemies. Unless they have 7 planes. Follow me, I'm delicious.
Yeah, if anyone has more than 6 planes, Ireland aren't going to be able to bite back, unfortunately. The day Ireland has a tremendous military force will certainly be a unique thing, that is for sure, guys. Guys, if you haven't already, just a quick reminder on YouTube, if you haven't hit that like button, share across social media, and subscribe if you haven't too already. Really does help boost the algorithm, so I greatly appreciate that if you can do so as well. If you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by leaving a super chat or joining the YouTube membership for as little as 99p. You get access to members community posts. I've been doing a lot of cat posts lately, and I know you guys like the cat posts. You don't need to tell me in the comments. I know you love them as well, and I need to expand on it, but I know you guys like that, as well as getting access to custom emojis as well. And if you join the 199 membership club, you also get access to early content, additional content as well. So content that's coming out tomorrow will be available to the higher tier levels members already as well. And also, if you want to check out the Rumble and Patreon content as well, the content on them is free. So there's free content on both them as well. But if you also want to join the membership on Patreon, that would be greatly appreciated as well. So thank you to anyone who has financially support me anyway. It's greatly appreciated, guys. So plugs out the way. We needed that funny video, especially after the story from from Africa News. That was yeah. Mithril, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Greatly appreciated. Meow, says Jow. Yeah, I've got more cat pictures to show, guys. So, well, I like dogs too, Mad Monk. Don't worry, I like dogs too. So, if I ever have a dog, I'll definitely be sharing that as well. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about Zelensky here, guys. So, like I said, Zelensky said the decision was regrettable. So from CNN, he describes the overall office meeting as regrettable, says he's ready to negotiate peace. I don't like this. I don't like that he's saying this. But at the same time, I also understand that he... also, at the same time, I understand that he's desperate to keep a connection with the US. He really wants to keep things going with the US. He really is. He really is pushing. He's going. I'm worried that if he goes to the White House again, he's going to be going with a begging bowl, and he's going to be made to grovel. And I don't want him doing that again. I would really like it if he didn't have to go on his own. But like he's saying he's ready to negotiate peace. Like Trump and Vance, for me, it's like they just want a reason to not give Ukraine anything and hope that Russia just literally bulldozed them over at this point. And we know, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but they're looking to unwind the sanctions that have been imposed on Russia. America are looking to do that now to boost the relationship with Russia. We know that they've decreased their cybersecurity with Russia, which is very, very concerning indeed. And it basically means that Europe is once again going to become more vulnerable. Russia's economy is going to be able to kickstart basically again, because Russia and America look like they're going to be aligning themselves on a lot of things at the expense of the free world. And I'm very worried about Georgia on the border with Russia as well. Things could get much worse for them because they're on the border. The NATO alliance, I'm not sure how that's going to go over the next couple of years, but obviously Europe needs to remain united more than ever in this very dark period here, that is for sure. He's ready to negotiate peace. Trump just wants to stop the war just for financial incentive, or because he's Putin puppet. It's one or the two, that is for sure, guys. Hi Jane Wallace, good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. You can't negotiate with a bully unless you put said bully down. Or as Winston Churchill says, you cannot negotiate with a tiger when your head is in its mouth. Because you can't. Never forget that line from Churchill. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a statement on Tuesday that his overall office meeting last week with US President Donald Trump did not go the way it was supposed to, describing it as regrettable and noting that Ukraine is ready to negotiate. I would like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace, Zelensky said on X. None of us want an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to a negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians. My team and I are ready to stand to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right. We would like our future cooperation and communications to be constructive, Zelensky has said. The Ukrainian leader also said that Ukraine is ready to sign a deal on Ukraine's minerals, which was meant to be signed on Friday until the disastrous overall office meeting led to Zelensky being told to leave the White House. Please don't sign that deal. Please don't sign that deal. I really don't want him signing that deal. I feel like, he signs that deal. It doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't guarantee anything. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step towards greater security and solid security guarantees. I truly hope it will work effectively, he said. The framework that Zelensky laid out for peace agreement is similar to the plan proposed by French President Emmanuel Macron at the Sunday summit of Western leaders. We are ready to work fast to end the war, and the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, a truce in the sea immediately if Russia will do the same. And then we want to move very fast through all the next stages and work with the US to agree a strong final deal, Zelensky said. We really do value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence, and we remember that moment when things changed when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins, and we are grateful for this. Yeah, desperately sucking up to Trump, but I just think a lot of it is just going to fall in deaf ears for Donald Trump. You know, I really think it will. I'm not. I really don't want him going back to the White House. I really don't want him to go back to the White House. I really hope he doesn't, guys. I'm worried about him. Bruce Lee says, expecting life to treat you well is like expecting a tiger not to devour you. Cats and dogs equally in my life system. Bank of my family are my big furry friends. Yep, so are my cats. Indeed. I think it's also important to add here as well when we talk about President Zelensky, because right now we're looking at him as a guy who was humiliated on Friday, and the world, mostly the free world, is behind Zelensky. But it's also being important to say that Ukraine has political corruption, that it is not a perfect country. Zelensky is not a perfect president, and that he has problems himself. We must acknowledge that. And however this war comes to an end, and we hope it does come to an end this year, because I do want it to end this year. I don't want it with the case of them ceding territory, but I fear that's what we will end up with. I'm not sure if I don't expect him to carry on as president, even though he's extremely popular. You know, a lot of things. It may be in best interest if things are calmed down, that perhaps it is in Ukraine's best interest that they elect a new leader from his political party. But obviously, there's always that threat of Russian influence that's lurking in the shadows. That is for sure. Businesses around here already moving operations to Canada and South America, Brazil and such. No one wants to invest in the US and becoming a habit here, says Jow. Happy Pancake Day, says QA Library. Is it Pancake Day today? Oh, God. Who in their right minds thinks we live in a free world? Or people who think and feel that they're in a free world believe that they're in a free world. But obviously, that's not the reality of the rest of the world. I think Zelensky will give up his power. Will willingly give up his power if he can secure peace. I just think he just doesn't want to give up the territory. But I just think America, I don't know what America is trying to achieve here. Apart from sucking up to Russia. I just think they're sucking up to Russia. I think if it was up to Trump, he probably would just say, look, just give Russia everything you want. Zelensky is saying no here. Probably not saying it publicly, that is for sure. So the last story I've got for you guys is from Al Jazeera. So the European Union weighs 841 billion euros to rearm Europe's plan to counter possible US disengagement. So European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen warns against a clear and present danger before Europe. So I'm sure we're going to be talking about this again, and I'm sure you guys are going to hear about this a lot, about the rearmament of Europe. Can the EU rearm? All this kind of stuff, and like, are we going to have a whole EU army? Are we going to have separate entities of European armies working under one? There's a lot of question marks about that. I'm inclined to agree that perhaps they should seriously consider an EU army, and one that everyone, a European force of some sorts, that everyone contributes. Maybe not a European Union, but a European force, so that it could include countries that are not countries that are not part of the European Union, but are within Europe, perhaps. So, such as the UK, or if Switzerland wanted to be a part of it, I don't think they would, but just hypothetically, if they wanted to. I don't think Hungary would agree to it anyway, but they can go. But the Orban can go screw himself. Both the UK and the USA, it is Pancake Day. Damn it! I feel bad now. No point in me going to the shop. There won't be any in there. But yeah, I'm more for a united European army rather than a bunch of nations with their own armies. We know that Germany, under this new German government, they're going to be ramping up a lot when it comes to military, and I think that's a good step. They said they want to disconnect themselves as much as they possibly can with America, which again I think is very good for a good step for them considering the situation right now. I think it makes logical sense for them. And we know that the likes of Poland and the Baltic states obviously invest more in military than any others because they're the closest on the borders, obviously, on the border with Russia, Poland with Belarus, So we know that that's for them. But there are certain countries who aren't pulling their weight in Europe, which is a big problem as well. But it's all good having the money. It's about building up. You got to build up the system. You got to build up the weapons. You got to build up the stockpiles. You got to build up the forces. And I do think actually, if you have an army, a European army under one entity, I think it works better because you got to have a ranking system with chain of command, like who's going to be running that and that. I just think it's been on Pancake Day they sell out QA Library. They sell out on Pancake Day in the shops down the road from me. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Anyways, I'm getting distracted with Pancake Day. Anyway, let's come to this. Let's talk about this, guys. So, European Commission, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has proposed a 5-part plan to mobilise some 800 billion euros to beef up Europe's defence and provide immediate military support to Ukraine after the United States suspended aid. A new era is upon us, the President said in a letter to present to the plan to the 27 EU leaders on Tuesday, 2 days before a summit aimed at cementing joint action on Ukraine. And Europe's long-term security begins in Brussels. Europe faces a clear and present danger on the scale that none of us have ever seen in our adult lifetime, she wrote. European leaders are under huge pressure to increase defence spending as US President Donald Trump returned to power and delivered a rude wake-up call that they cannot blindly rely on Washington. It's good to see Canada there as well. There's another nation there. The joint borrowing would go towards building pan-European capabilities, dominance like air and missile defence, artillery systems, missile and ammunition, drones and anti-drone systems, or to address the needs for cyber to militarise mobility, the EC has said. Some of der Leyen's proposals, including a new joint EU borrowing of 150 billion euros, that's $158 billion, to lead to the EU government for defence as part of the overall financing effort. She did not give a detailed time frame. No, you can't give a detailed time frame on this right now. But says spending needs to be increased, and urgently now, but also over a longer period of time over this decade. Europe is ready to assume its responsibility, Ursula von der Leyen wrote. We will continue working closely with our partners in NATO. This is a moment for Europe, and we are ready to step up. The announcement came hours after Trump ordered a pause on military aid to Ukraine amid his ongoing spat with President Volodymyr Zelensky last week. Trump has also said NATO's European members should spend 5% of their gross domestic product on defence, a figure that no NATO member, including the UK, including the US, currently reaches. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. 5% is just unrealistic of them. Unrealistic. In fact, that even America doesn't even have that. It's just folly. For years, EU nations have been unwilling to spend much on defence as they rely on the US nuclear umbrella amid a sluggish economy. With the new proposals, EU member states would be forced to greatly increase their military spending, which is below 2% of their GDP. The NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has told member states that they need to move to more than 3% as quickly as possible. Yeah, it's thanks to the Conservatives why we don't have 3%, but I'm kind of optimistic that by the end of our Parliament in the UK that we can reach 3% here in the UK. I mean, we are spending a lot already. I don't like these come out of foreign aid ourselves, but like for me, like the likes of, there are some countries that aren't pulling their weight in Europe. We talked about this before, and they do need to pull their weight. Like, just because you're not on the border of Russia, just because on the other side, doesn't mean that you shouldn't be pulling your weight. More needs to be done on this, and there needs to be the EU needs to apply more pressure to these countries in doing so. It's all talk at the end of the day. It's all rhetoric at the end of the day from Ursula von der Leyen. It's all well and good saying that they're ready to step up and all this kind of thing, but to build up what Europe wants is going to take time. And right now, time is not something that is on their side. It's not on the side of Europe right now. We are vulnerable. We are vulnerable. The UK is vulnerable. The EU is vulnerable. Europe is vulnerable. Because we see that America and Russia are going to get closely aligned more than ever. Over the next couple of years, that's what they're going to do. They're going to align themselves as closely as they possibly can with Russia. Like, we are literally, it is March 2025, right? There is a long period between now and there's still like a period between, I think it's still like several years before there's the next presidential election. The so-called local elections, or it's not until like mid next year. there's more than enough time for this Trump administration to intertwine itself more to Russia. There's more than enough time to Russia to get its fingers into US's systems and whatnot. Like the damage is going to be untold, and whatever happens over the next between now and the next couple of years in America, the reality is you just can't turn to them to help. You can't turn to them to trust you anymore. You've got to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. You've got to be able to stand with your friends and allies more than ever before. We need to be more united than ever before. And just because the UK is not part of the European Union doesn't mean that we still can't work together, as basically been shown there. Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about Brexit. Don't get me wrong, I would love us to just, start a new deal and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think even the EU, they've got so many other things on their plate right now. I just don't see them wanting to do that. Yes, it will cause absolute anger amongst the right wing and the Nigel Farages and the GB News that can't make any money right now. But that is something, obviously, that is in the back of my mind as well. Let's just have a quick look of what you guys are saying in the chat. And now a lot of other command with Poland and Germany and another with Finland, Jao says. And the weapon production has already started. For example, Portugal and Spain might be part of the French regional command. It was talked in Macron here in Porto. Countries have been warned to complete their cohesion programs as fast as possible before summer and begin the arms production as fast as possible, Jao has said. You need to be pragmatic, and for every example, Portugal, Spain and France have very similar army organisations that they were doing for, says Jao. The words of Winston Churchill: how can these groomed young leaders make these decisions without being passed through their democratic parliaments? The argument is security, isn't it? Ursula von der Leyen basically invited the UK to rejoin the EU. No, she did not say that. She did not say that. But she did not say that. Like, trade and cooperation, all that kind of stuff would make sense. I think in terms of military, that will definitely happen. The only reason why I don't think Brexit is going to be something that's going to be mentioned, 2 things. One, from political reasons back home, because you don't want to upset the political instability in the UK, even though we're already angry with Keir Starmer of how he's doing things in the UK right now. He's doing a great job in terms of the world leading, but in terms of like some of the actions that he's been doing lately, he's been shit. But he's going to make things politically even worse for the Labour Party if he does that. I don't know if he's going to come out and I don't know if someone's going to ask him the question about Brexit, but he's probably just going to come out saying we're not going to rejoin the single market and customs union again. If he gets asked the question, if he doesn't say that, then alarm bells are going to ring for the Brexiteers in particular. Because the thing is, like, the EU have got so many things going. Are they really going to have time to, like, the thing is, and this is something that's going to take years and years and years to process as well. Like, so I'm not holding my breath that what's happening now in the moment of crisis is that we're going to be rejoining the European Union. I don't see that. At least not right now. But I can understand how people can draw that distinction. It makes sense, considering the situation that we are all in right now. So, the EU will need to be strong militarily or continue to exist, or we will be speaking Russian from Vaskis to Lisbon. That is the harsh truth. I'm not very good. I've tried learning different languages. I'm probably going to end up... I'm not going to last very long here when it comes to being forced to learn a different language. That is for sure, guys. Right, guys. We got... Before we head out of Snowflake's Corner, I think Geoscopes, they're going to be doing a show at 7:30 on Politics Sofa if you guys want to check that out. I'm not sure... I hope Max is going to be live tonight. I don't know if he was live last Tuesday, but hopefully he'll be live tonight as well. There'll be plenty of people, plenty of stuff to cover and talk about on many other live streams as well. But before we go, we're going to be doing the funny memes. Just a quick reminder, I'm going to be doing Prime Minister's questions tomorrow at 12 o'clock, whether it is with the Prime Minister or the Deputy Prime Minister. So if you want to join me for that, you're more than welcome to. And then tomorrow night, I will be doing a mental health live stream, Wednesday at 8 p.m. tomorrow. So if you want to join me for that, we're not going to be talking politics. We're going to be talking about very serious, very, very important stuff about mental health, about depression, about anxiety, all that kind of stuff. It'll be the first one of 2025. I do this every couple of months, so do join me for that, and do feel free to let out your thoughts and feelings about whatever you want in on that live stream. I also want to remind you guys that next week is a very big live stream. Next week, Wednesday. What's it next week? Thursday. Next week on Thursday. Sorry, next week Thursday. It is the 2-year anniversary of this YouTube channel. So we will be having a fun live stream. So we're going to be having our own a Thursday frolic. So like Daily Blase's Friday frolic. We're going to have that on the 2-year anniversary show. So we're going to have a lot of fun next week on Thursday. Lots of fun videos, laughs, and all that kind of stuff. So do join me as we celebrate 2 years of this YouTube channel next week, Thursday the 13th of March as well, guys, because that is, and that the reason why we do that date specifically, because that is the date when I uploaded my very first YouTube video on this channel. Even though this channel was even though this channel's been around since 2012, that's the day when I officially started as a YouTuber, guys. But before you guys run off, like I said, we got the funny memes here, guys. I've got 5 for you here. I actually put these in. I actually done these before. Like literally the day after the Snowflake Corner. So I can't remember what all of them are, but I'm just going to roll along with it and see how it goes, guys. So here we go with the 5 memes. I hope you guys get a laugh out of these. When I was young, I was poor. But after years of hard work, I am no longer young. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. I know a drug deal when I see one. It'd be an innocent meeting between friends if they were polar bears, wouldn't it? Pastor dies after 30 days of fasting to beat Jesus' record. Get fucked, poser! Can't believe Jesus swearing on Twitter. Absolutely outrageous, you guys. My girlfriend calls me immature, so I banned her from my cardboard box fort. Yeah. She's not allowed in my fort. And you know what? I wouldn't mind that cardboard box fort as well. Yeah, no girls in my cardboard box fort. I gotta say, guys, yeah, this one, like here, you can just tell there's something going on here. You can tell there's something going on here. But yeah, I know that one hit home there. Indeed. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the funny memes. Did you guys enjoy the funny memes behind me? Oh, I've actually moved them around a little bit to see if we can get them better in the picture. Kind of got them better in the picture there. So you can just about see Cash Dummy's head there. It's just about poking out. There he is. He's poking just about there. But Blaze, Pingu, yeah, just hiding behind the orb there. Hello, Blaze and Ollie. There on top of the orb. And with our lava lamp is been empowered. There, the lava lamp is all empowered. There, all hail the lava lamp, all hail the orb as well, guys. So, I really don't get memes. I prefer funny videos. It's just try something different. It's all it is. You know, sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss. But we only do it here on this live stream. So, you know, sometimes you might get a laugh out of them, sometimes you don't. It's not always everyone's cup of tea, but we always try something different. That's what it is, guys. So, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thank you, guys, for all your comments. I really appreciate your feedback and whatnot. Hopefully I'll catch you guys on some other live streams this evening as well. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow with a live stream at 12 o'clock for Prime Minister's Questions, and then we will have a very important mental health live stream tomorrow at 8 p.m. Do join me for that, so we can talk about depression, talk about anxiety, talk about mental health, all these kinds of things, and any other things regarding any of that stuff in particular. If you want to add any more, if there's any particular subject that you want me to talk about with regards to that kind of stuff, you can feel free to message me on Discord, to talk about that, just drop me a message or at me on Discord, and we can talk about a particular subject that you want to talk about there. I don't really want it to be political if we can help it. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thursday, I will have the Snowflake watch, and I may or may not do a live stream on Friday. It depends, guys. But yeah, thank you all guys for coming, and take care as always. But just before I go, I just have one last thing to say, that if you haven't already, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. If you're on Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I go live on twitch.tv/ReganElite1. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.